Mexican president has secured the Supreme Court approval to hold a referendum on whether 5 of his predecessors should be prosecuted for corruption. U.S. President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump have tested positive for the COVID-19. Authorities in Burkina Faso have decided to reopen schools and universities after being closed for 6 months. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm Laura Palmeiro. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador has secured the Supreme Court approval to hold a referendum on whether 5 of his predecessors should be prosecuted for corruption. The proposal ended with 6 votes in favor and 3 against. Supreme Court President Arturo Saldívar, who voted in support of the move, highlighted the importance of public consultations to promote participatory democracy. Any referendum should, by law, happen in August, but attorneys said AMLO could now push for the question to be on the ballot in next June's midterm vote.
In favor of the project. And the alternative proposal that I had made was only in the sense that there was a majority in the plenary for it. As I warned that there is no majority, I am with the project.
I am with the project. I will make a concurrent vote. I will depart from some considerations, and the question is the matter. The question is unconstitutional.
Venezuelan Vice President for the Economy Tarek El Aissami announced that the fuel supply plan previously explained by President Nicolás Maduro will resume starting October 5.
Firstly, starting on Monday, October 5, 2020, 1,568 gas stations will be reactivated across the national territory in their different modalities of services and supplies. In other words, stations that offer the direct subsidy policy, the stations that sell fuel at international prices and that offer as means of payment foreign currencies or cryptocurrency, and finally, those destined for public and cargo transport. Secondly, the set date to access supplies will return, taking into account the last number of the license plate, a method well known by Venezuelans.
Likewise, the Venezuelan official noted that the direct subsidized policy will maintain in order to guarantee fuel supplies to the Venezuelan population.
Thirdly, the direct subsidies policy for all Venezuelans is guaranteed through the Homeland Platform. In other words, the beneficiaries will enjoy a monthly quota of 120 liters of fuel for four-wheel vehicles and 60 liters of fuel in the case of motorbikes. Regarding the public transport and cargo sectors, the direct subsidy of 100% of fuel will be maintained.
The Vice President for the Economy also stressed that the plan included the implementation of international cooperation mechanisms in order to strengthen the productivity of Venezuela's refineries.
The plan we start on the 5th is a plan that aims for the normalization and regularization henceforth. We are also making great efforts, exchange mechanisms with other fraternal countries belonging to the OPEC organization to ensure the supply of additives and spare parts, etc., and thus achieve what is necessary to further strengthen our refineries.
Brazil again exceeded 1,000 COVID-19 deaths in a 24-hour period this Thursday. According to the Ministry of Health, the country registered 1,031 new fatalities, representing the first time the daily toll has surpassed 1,000 since September 15th, when 1,113 COVID-19 related deaths were reported. The overall death toll now stands at over 144,000. Scientific research institution, the Oswaldo Cruz Foundation, has recommended that COVID-19 prevention measures be reinforced in the northern state of Amazonas and in its capital Manaus due to a spike in new cases. In recent weeks, experts have warned that a second wave of the virus would hit the city 2.2 million inhabitants. At least 260 people have been killed in 65 massacres in Colombia so far this year, which has been the most violent in the country since the signing of the peace agreement in 2016. According to a report by the Institute for Development and Peace Studies, the majority of the assassinations recorded in the 65 massacres reported from January until September 30th took place in 18 Colombia departments, including the capital, Bogotá. The departments of Antioquia, El Cauca, Nariño, northern parts of Santander, and Putumayo are the most affected zones of the ongoing violence, targeting social and community leaders, trade unionists, human rights defenders, and former guerrilla fighters. And we'll be right back after this very short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. U.S. President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump have tested positive for the COVID-19, the president tweeted early on Friday. Trump's positive test comes just hours after the White House announced that senior aide Hope Hicks came down with the virus after traveling with the president several times this week. Trump is 74 years old, putting him at higher risk in serious complications from a virus that has now killed more than 200,000 people nationwide. Tonight, Flatus and I tested positive for COVID-19. We will begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately. We will get through this together, Trump tweeted. The United States government has announced a further reduction in the number of refugees allowed to enter the country. From 2021, only 15,000 asylum seekers will be permitted into the North American nation, down from this year's 18,000. The Department of State made the announcement on Wednesday night, half an hour before the start of the 2021 fiscal year, falling just shy on the deadline. Under the Barack Obama administration, 100,000 refugees got safe entry into the United States. Supporters of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange gathered outside the Central Criminal Court of England and Wales in London this Tuesday for the last day of his extradition hearing. British District Judge Vanessa Baretzer announced that she would deliver her decision on whether to grant a U.S. extradition request for Assange at 10 a.m. on January 4, 2021, adding that he would remain in custody at Belmarsh Maximum Security Prison unless any further application for bail was made. The judge previously denied Assange's bail petitions over fears he is flight risk. Meanwhile, Assange's defense team has asked for another 4 weeks to submit his closing argument. U.S. prosecutors indicted the 49-year-old Assange on 17 espionage charges and 1 charge of computer misuse over WikiLeaks publication of secret military documents, largely relating to the wars conducted by the U.S. in Afghanistan and Iraq. The case has received very limited mass media coverage, despite its huge implications for investigative journalism and whistleblowing.
Julian is not a U.S. citizen. He has never lived there. He did not sign an oath to the U.S. government. He should not be sent there. Julian's duty is to the public, to publish evidence of wrongdoing, and that's what he did.
There was no hacking. There was no conspiracy. There was no harm. And when we peeled off the layers and layers of lies that have been presented, we are left with the truth. And that truth has been presented in this court in a very bleak manner. The truth is, this is journalism on trial. If Julian Assange is extradited, it will mean darkness for us all. It cannot happen. We must take a stand. There can only be one outcome, no extradition.
Following a high-level meeting on the situation in the Central African Republic on Wednesday, United Nations authorities noted the progress in areas such as legislative reform and the extension of a state authority across the country, while also warning of the significant number of human rights violations and breaches of the peace agreement.
However, Mr. Guterres expressed his concern about the significant number of human rights violations and breaches of the peace agreement. These attacks must stop immediately, he said. He called upon authorities to redouble their efforts to bring the perpetrators to justice, protect civilians, and strengthen measures to address violence against women. However, Mr. Guterres...
The President of the European Commission has warned that the EU is ready to use all its instruments against Turkey unless it halts its drilling for oil and gas in the territorial waters of Cyprus and Greece. The threat includes the possibility of sanctions under the terms of an agreement reached at the EU summit in Brussels.
With international law, we want a positive and a constructive relationship with Turkey. And this would also be very much in Ankara's interest, but it will only work if the provocations and pressures stop. We therefore expect that Turkey from now on abstains from unilateral actions. In case of such renewed actions by Ankara, the EU will use all its instruments and options available. We have a toolbox that we can apply immediately.
Vietnam detected one new COVID-19 case on Thursday, bringing its total number of confirmed cases to 1,095. The Vietnamese Commission in charge of containing the epidemic informed that the new patient is a Russian expert who entered the country on September 26 and was complying with a regulatory quarantine in southern Cantón province. On Wednesday, 3 patients were discharged from hospitals for a total of 1,010 recoveries, representing 92% of confirmed cases. Among the patients still hospitalized, none is in serious condition, and 14 have tested negative in 2 or 3 PCR tests and are thus likely to be discharged soon. And we have more stories coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Authorities in Burkina Faso have decided to reopen schools and universities after being closed for 6 months due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, the country has reported a total of over 2,000 confirmed cases and 58 COVID-19 related deaths since the outbreak of the pandemic.
From the 16th of March, classes were stopped because of COVID. And so at this restart, with intermediate classes, we were already able to finish the year for classes that were sitting exams. But for this return, for all the other classes, we have planned to make up for lost time by carrying on with last year's textbooks. From the 1st of October to the 15th of November, we are going to complete the curriculum for the different classes before starting the program for the new school year.
The plan is to pick up where we left off, quickly finish last year's course before starting this year's one. We have until mid-November to complete this course.
South African health authorities offered an update on COVID-19 cases this Thursday. A total of 1,745 new coronavirus cases were confirmed, pushing the total number to over 676,000. Meanwhile, the COVID-19 death toll climbed to more than 16,800 after 132 new fatalities were reported in the last 24 hours. Over 609,000 people have recovered from the virus, which represents a recovery rate of 90%. South Africa has the highest number of confirmed COVID-19 cases on the continent and ranks 10th in the world. Singapore has announced the resumption of some international flights as the country has gotten control of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Aviation Authority will allow travelers from Australia and Vietnam from October 8th under the somewhat restrictions. This has come as the low risk of virus importation from those nations. However, the authority emphasized that measure will not benefit travelers from the Australian state of Victoria as it becomes a COVID-19 hotspot in the country. On the occasion of the 60th anniversary of Nigeria's independence this Thursday, President Muhammadu Buhari called for unity in order to build a strong nation and face the social and economic challenges in the country. The president called for a sincere process in the national healing, noting that the 60th anniversary of the independence presented an opportunity to eliminate old and outborn concepts. He noted that Nigeria is grappling with multiple challenges, including the coronavirus pandemic, security threats in some parts of the country, and fast population growth, with over 200 million inhabitants, of which 52% live in urban areas. Meanwhile, he pointed out that the economy is in crisis, adding that fuel prices will be adjusted. Nigeria proclaimed its independence from the United Kingdom on October 1st, 1960. United Nations authorities have welcomed the decision by the Lebanese and Israeli governments to conduct negotiations on maritime and land border demarcation.
The UN mission stands ready to extend to the parties all the support at its disposal and facilitate efforts towards a resolution of this issue and move forward with blue line demarcation. Under Security Council Resolution 1701, UNIFIL is supporting any agreement between the two countries aimed at reinforcing confidence in getting the parties to recommit to the sanctity of the blue line and the broader border demarcation process.
Speaking during a visit to Pakistan, Abdullah Abdullah, the chairman of Afghanistan's High Council for National Reconciliation, which is overseeing Kabul's push for peace with the Taliban, announced that the Afghan government and Taliban negotiators are nearing a compromise on key points that has stalled the peace talks in Doha.
Recognize the principal issue of Hanafi's role, and also without any discrimination to Shiite communities or minorities as such. So that's the compromises around that. I leave Pakistan with positive feelings and positive senses. It is after 12 years that I have been here. In the past, of course, they also say here today that there are things that have taken place in the past, perhaps in both sides.
Jordanian and Spanish authorities held official talks on Wednesday to address bilateral relations and security issues in the Middle East.
We want to support the resumption of negotiations between Palestine and Israel along the lines of the parameters agreed in the United Nations, two countries side by side in peace and security. We want to support stability in Iraq. Iraq is a country where Spain has deployed efforts and human capital.
We look forward to continuing to working with Spain on creating political horizons that would end the stalemate in the peace effort, restart negotiations, credible dialogue that would take us towards the two-state solution on the basis of international law, which is the only way to move forward.
We want.
And this Thursday, Mali's military junta published a charter for the transition period, which establishes a procedure of handing over power to civilian government. The document was among the requisites demanded by the economic community of West African states in order to lift the sanctions imposed on the country, following the coup against President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta on August 18th. Representatives of the bloc have also demanded clarification on the role of the vice president, a post held by the leader of the military junta, Colonel Assimi Goïta. The military approved the basic law and roadmap for the transition period on September 12, following consultations with political and civil society figures, while also agreeing that the transition period will last 18 months. Meanwhile, former Defense Minister Ban Du was appointed president for the transitional period and took to the oath on September 25. Addressing the opening of an annual trade fair for the cocoa industry this Thursday, Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara announced a 21% increase in the price paid to cocoa farmers, noting that the decision would bring state support for the sector to over $6.3 million. Ivory Coast is the world's top cocoa producing country.
I am very pleased to announce that we have decided not to lower the prices to producers. This is the first good news. The second good news is that we have even decided to increase the price from 825 to 1,000 CFA francs per kilo. Ghana has set the price to producers at around 1,000 francs per kilogram. This increase reflects our commitment and determination in both countries to improve the incomes and living standards of our producer friends. This commitment and determination will continue and intensify.
And we have come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Laura Palmeiro. Thank you for watching.